At the end of all that, I was reminded of what Johanna von Goethe, one of the greatest thinkers in this world, a German, said, I quote, I now know philosophy, physiology, jurisprudence, medicine, science, even, alas, theology from end to end with labor skin. But here I stand, O fool, with all my lore, no wiser than before. Which is absolutely true. Because, it's wisdom that is missing in this world. T.S. Eliot so beautifully said, where is that wisdom we seem to have lost in knowledge? And where is that knowledge we seem to have lost in information? Today we only gather information. And information is full of noise. An occasional signal in the information is lost in the noise. So much so, you get so confused listening to various things. How many of you have heard of this man called Creek? William Creek. C-R-E-E-C-K. Have you heard of that? Very famous German economist who has written an article for all of you to read. The End of Capitalism. He said Brexit and Trump's election is a sign of an imminent breaking up of capitalism of the West. Because capitalism has oversold itself. It's oversold itself so much so. Today, everything runs on money. Did you understand that? Everything runs on money. Man is of no consequence. Only money is consequence. I don't know how many of you know when the first industry started in 1802 in England. That's called the Industrial Revolution or Renaissance or what you want to call it of the last century, 19th century. There was this romantic British poet called William Wordsworth. He wrote a poem which is called The World is Too Much With Us. How many of you read that? The world is too much with us. I'll give you 4 lines. You go and read the rest. Get into Google and say, William Wordsworth, the world is too much with us. But this is a very important poem. It says, the world is too much with us, late and soon. Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. Mark that line. Getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. Little do we see in nature that is ours. I'll give you an example. If your cat in the house has a tummy ache, do you know where it goes? It goes out in the garden, knows which leaf or grass to eat, and gets better. You and I get a tummy ache, we go to an ass called BMX and get a poison and get into trouble after that, which is called ADR, adverse drug reactions. The leading cause of death in the world is ADR. Do you want to know that? You all think, oh, what is modern medicine? Western medicine is so good. Don't have to worry. One person came and told me, look, I am rich. I want to drink good Scotch whiskey every day. And I want to smoke. But at the same time, I don't want to get any disease. Can you do something? I said, I'm sorry. You have come to the wrong person. I'm not God. Then what is this? What is modern medicine for? I just want to do what I want to do, and I want a medicine to cure it. This is the stage we will reach. Little do we see in nature that's ours. Because, he says, Wordsworth says, we have sold our soul. We have sold our soul. I have added 2 lines for that. To the devil. Semicolon. The sordid boon. The biggest curse for mankind is we have sold our soul. Do you even bat an eyelid to cheat somebody? Tell me that. Do you? No. And you think, I can cheat the world and make money. I'll be happy. No, you're not happy. You may have the best possible things. You may have a 100-bedded, probably 120-floor house in Bombay. You may gift a 432 crores plane for your wife's birthday. And you may have all the cars in the world. But if you ask yourself a question at the end of the day, what is a car meant for? Take you from point A to B, right? What does it matter whether it's an 800 Maruti or a crore worth of 7 Series BMW where the door opens and closes on itself? What does it matter? You're going to the same place. See, this is the problem. But unfortunately, what happens is all of us are governed by the same emotions and passions. So beautifully said, Shakespeare told, whether you are in the palace or in the pad, whether in the castle or in the cottage, you are governed by the same emotions and passions. Greed, jealousy. Actually, greed is a very small word. Wall Street greed is a better word. That's a corporate greed. Wall Street greed. Because there's no end to it. Just there is no end to it. $13 billion is the profit of one drug company in 1 year. $13 billion is the profit of one drug company in America by selling statins. Knowing full well that statins are poisons and they're going to kill a lot of people. 10% to 40% of people who take statin within 1 year become diabetics. Now we say we don't want diabetes. No, we are manufacturing diabetes. I have estimated 15 million people in India take statins. 15 million. That means we are manufacturing 2 million diabetics every year. And then we say India will be the capital of diabetes in the world. Naturally. This is all because of Wall Street greed. Did you understand that? What it means? Yeah. Tyrosine kinase receptor blocker. There are a lot of doctors here. You know, tyrosine kinase receptor blocker is a good anti-cancer agent. One drug manufactured in America or by an American company, maybe manufactured in China or Vietnam or Honolulu or Timbuktu, I don't know, but packaged and marketed by a company in America, costs 2.5 lakhs of rupees for one injection. And what hurts me is our cancer specialists tell the patient, with this drug you will become completely all right. I'll give you an example. One of my students, who was a professor of cardiovascular surgery in St. John's Medical College in Bangalore, 44-year-old young man with a child and a young wife, comes down with acute myeloblastic leukemia. So his wife calls me and says, Uncle, he has got this, and in Kidwai they say, they'll treat conventionally. I said, fine, that's the maximum that can happen, because acute myeloblastic leukemia, if he survives, it's great, something, providential. Otherwise, normally they don't survive. How could I tell her that? Then she said, do you know why she called me? She said, sir, in Vellore, they say there's a special treatment, there's a special unit. They'll make him all right. I said, do you believe that in 2016? She said, no, there's so many people have assured me. I said, don't believe these things. These are all, this advertisement. His Kidwa is all right. Whatever. What he requires is TLC, tender loving care. Tender loving care. TLC is the best medicine for many diseases. You probably don't know that. Because ultimately the healing is done by your own body. Remember that. Healing is done by your own immune system and not by the surgery or by any medicine that you take. Be it homeopathy, umapathy, Ayurveda, anything. Ultimately, it is sympathy that matters. I always tell my students, you practice whatever you want to practice, but do practice empathy and sympathy. You will be a good doctor. I'll give you a study. WHO did a study in Thailand. Thailand has 5 systems of medicine concurrently running. Pure Western medicine, as we Indians think Western medicine is the panacea for all things, right? Most of us think like that. Pure Chinese medicine, integrated Western Chinese medicine, Samoa medicine, where the father tells the son what to do when he dies, and the son tells his son when he dies, and it goes on. Then Quackery, downright Quackery. RMPs, as we call in India, registered medical practitioners. Now, WHO did a study. What was the impact of these 5 systems of medicine on society in Thailand? Would you know what came out? They're equally effective. Equally effective. The quack was as effective as the best Western doctor. Because if the Western doctor has sympathy, immune system takes over. The quack has always sympathy. That's his trump card, without which he won't practice. And he is always successful. A quack is always successful. I was a student in the 50s in Madras, And opposite our big hospital, which is Asia's biggest hospital those days, there was a doctor called UL Janardhan Rao or someone, a Brahmin old man. When I was 17 years old, he was 70 years old. And he was practicing medicine then with an LIM, which he got 70 years earlier. LIM means they don't eat nothing there. But if we had 2,000 outpatients, he had about 1,500 outpatients. And his queue used to be from Parktown via Chinatown to the almost to beach. That was the queue in the morning. Every day, every day. The old man will have a stethoscope. Once I saw that, it's about a meter long, because he doesn't touch these patients. Poor patients, they smell and all, they don't take bath, he thinks. So he has an assistant who takes a chest piece and puts it on the patient's chest like that. And this fellow will keep it in the earpiece here. There are 3 rooms. Patients come in one room, he sits in the middle room, and the third room is on the other side. Every patient comes with a bottle. Those days there were no tablets. When I was a student, we had only few mixtures. So they bring a bottle, put the bottle there, a big receptacle will be kept. And the thing is taken through the compounder's room to the other side. Compounder fills some medicine in some bottle, which is whose bottle is what, nobody knows. And that is taken to the third room, and when the patients pass out, they pick up their bottles and go. Very interesting thing happens. Patient comes in, he is ushered in, he says, Enna in Tamil means what? And by the time he opens his mouth, that fellow is, Jargandi, like in Tirupati temple, he is already Jargandi next. And in between, the chest piece touches the patient once. That's all what happens. And obviously, patients get better, otherwise they won't come back. Because he doesn't advertise. Those days there are no television to advertise, or there are no paper advertising saying, come here, we will do you'll give you a new foot, or we'll give you a new heart, nothing like that. Word of mouth. Patients from all over Chennai and the surrounding suburbs used to come to UL Narayan Rao. That impressed me a lot. As a young child, I was looking at UL Narayan Rao and appreciating, my God, he's God. Today I know he is very scientific. Very, very scientific. My former chief in Harvard, who is 92 years old, still directs research, Saparwala Sahab. His name is Bernard Lown, who is a Nobel laureate. That shocking machine that they all use in the hospital, he invented that. He directed research about 10 years ago. What did he do? 600 patients over a 5-year period were sent up for bypass surgery to the Harvard Medical School from the Massachusetts cardiologists. And they were doing laser tip bypass surgery. It's called total myocardial infarction. Nothing, no cutting the chest and nothing of the sort. Patient doesn't even know. You just put a catheter in and make holes in the heart and convert a man into a snake. Snakes don't have coronary system. They suck blood from the cavity through the holes. So we make a man a snake, and then he is okay. He said none of these people scientifically require bypass surgery. So he devised a new study. Patient comes, number 1, goes to theatre A. Patient comes number 2, goes to theatre B. C, A. Third patient. Fourth patient, B. Alternate patients at random. Close your eyes and randomized do that. And the protocol in theatre A was anesthetize, operate, send. In B was anesthetize, keep him sleeping. When he wakes up, tell him he had a wonderful operation, send. Do nothing. Okay? 298 here and 299 here. Now at the end of 5 years, all these 299 who went to theatre B are perfect. Now thallium scan shows their revascularization is 100% perfect. In A, half of them, the chest pain did not go, so they had to have a cut open, regular surgery. The other half of the half are with their maker in heaven. The remaining half of the half, they are having ADR, adverse drug reactions, because of ticlopidine, aspirin, and what have you, all the blood thinners. They have had cerebral hemorrhage, this, that, and problems. But those who went to theatre B are all happy. Now what happened to them? They were told at the end, when they woke up from anesthesia, your operation has been very successful. That's it. That's called the placebo effect. The body's immune system corrects it, and opens up collaterals, just as body does in all of us. Sitting here, all of us, including the children, we all have, mark my words, we all have coronary artery blocks. If you didn't have, you wouldn't be here. About 5% of human beings don't get coronary blocks, and they die before the age of 25 of a sudden heart attack. This is called preconditioning. Nature preconditions. And the same nature does what it does. Now somebody wanted to know, what happens when you take a chemical medicine? Chemical medicine is a new idea, Western idea. Wall Street greed, eh? You don't know that. I'll tell you what. They said, what will happen? So a professor of medicine, to be very precise, professor of genetics in Washington, Douglas C. Wallace, D.C. Wallace, did a wonderful study. He invented a chip called the MIT chip, mitochondrial chip, his own invention. So he tags it on to the drug and gives the drug to the patient and traces it where it goes. The chemical drug goes inside the system to the stomach. And the human immune system, human wisdom says, what is this? This chemical I have not seen. My forefathers have not seen. It has never been in our race. So it must be some poison which has come in. Throw it to the liver. That's what happens to any poison. You take a poison, it's first sent to the liver. So every chemical drug that you swallow goes to the liver. Mark my words. Every drug goes to the liver. When it goes to the liver tries to best it possible destroy it. If something remains, it comes out of the liver. That's called the first pass effect. Some of the medical doctors here sitting must have heard pharmacology class. First pass effect. First pass effect means what remains comes out of the liver. It's a very small amount. That might do harm, but the liver is definitely damaged. That's why today we have a new disease called non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver. It's an epidemic actually. When I was a student, we only knew one thing. Cirrhosis means alcoholic cirrhosis. Now, new disease is almost cirrhosis, alcoholic cirrhosis has disappeared because people are now afraid drinking too much of alcohol. There are a few. But every one of us possibly is a candidate for non-alcoholic cirrhosis. If it's not greed, what else is? Tell me. So, Douglas so beautifully showed that none of these drugs are accepted by the human system. Whereas he tried Chinese and Tibetan herbs. He didn't try Ayurveda because Ayurveda is very unpopular in the West. Or at least it's becoming popular now. But in America, Ayurveda has not been very popular. But he took Chinese herbs and Tibetan herbs. The minute the herb goes into the stomach says, aha, this is new. I know it. It's part of the food that my ancestors were taking. And it's not thrown into the liver. And directly goes, and if it can do some good, it does. This is what happens with all herbal medicines. Unfortunately, the present Ayurveda in India, any Ayurvedic physicians here? They are also now trying reductionist chemicals. The other day means about a year ago, or 2 years ago, I was lecturing at the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research in Bombay. They get crores of money for research. And they were telling me, sir, we tried this, Ayurveda is all hocus pocus, sir. We tried this Brahmi, Brahmi ek patta, which is supposed to be good for memory. My grandmother used to give us chutney of Brahmi before we go to the exam. I still remember that. Brahmi, you know that. What do you call that in Hindi? Kya bolta hai isko? Kya? Brahmi chi? Ek patta. Malayalam enta parine? Ek patta le. Enta parine? Brahmi. ನಮ್ಮ ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ತಿಮರೆ, ನಾವು ತುಳುವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ತಿಮರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ತಿಮರೆ ಚಟ್ನಿ. ತಿಮರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾ? ಭಾಳ ರುಚಿ, very nice. Anyway, they were saying it's useless, sir. We tried so much of things. Then I told them, what did you try? And chemical extract of Brahmi. I said, chemical extract of Brahmi is not Brahmi. I said, why don't you try Brahmi chutney itself? And 2 or 3 boys in the audience, some of these young boys are very, they are imaginative. They said, yes. But they came and told me, sir, we won't get any grant for this. I said, why don't you? You just write to the DRDO and you will get, or DST. Why not you get it? So I talked to the secretary of DST. I said, why don't you fund this kind of refutative research? All your rubbish research, crores of rupees of taxpayers' money is wasted on repetitive research. Me too research. Somebody has done in America something, I am going to do it here and see what happens. This is called repetitive research. Remember, knowledge does not advance by repeating known things. Knowledge advances by refuting false dogmas. I'll give you an example. 127 AD, Galen said, blood circulates from the liver. Okay? For 1500 years, every ass of a professor, researcher, PhD said, liver pumps blood. It was in the year 1628, a London doctor, practicing doctor who didn't have much practice, was going for a walk in the evening, saw a fire hydrant and got some stimulation idea and went back to his laboratory and did lot of dissection of animals and found out heart pumps blood, and he said, cogito, demoto cordis. In Latin, demoto cordis is heart pumps blood. That was in 1628. That means 1500 years every ass thought liver pumps blood. They taught the same thing in the medical school. Can you believe that? So repeating known things does not take knowledge forwards. Refuting false dogmas takes knowledge forward, said Karl Popper, a great thinker who was a professor of science philosophy in the London School of Economics in the 50s and 60s. He's a colossus. Popper said, think of refuting false dogmas, of which there are many in every field, every single field. That's what Crick was saying. This economics, which we think is economics, macroeconomics, is going to end sooner than later. The signs are already there in the horizon. Trump coming up. The whole media is saying Hillary will come up. And suddenly Trump comes up. See? Brexit. Cameron was so happy, so confident that no, what is happening, I'll come. Something has come up. The white supremacy is coming up, which means we'll go back to the time of the Nazis again. See, think of it. White supremacy in America. Here is a very funny system. The American system is such that only the rich people will win at the end of the day. Hillary gets thousands of votes more than Trump in the popular vote. But in the collegiate system, he gets more. How can you believe that? Very funny, isn't it? Very funny. Now, these are all signs. So I say, Western science has had an overdose of itself. And sooner than later, this science will be exposed. Do you understand that? If any one of you is keen on reading, younger generation, I'll give you a book, nice book, written by 2 physics professors in New York, called The Golem. The book's name is The Golem, Golem. എഴുതിയ മോനെ ഗോലം എന്താ മലയാളത്തിലെ ഇനി lot of Malayalis here. What is golem? Golem എന്ത് യെസ് ഗോളമല്ല മോളെ ഗോലം എന്ത് GOLEM is the Hebrew word. It's not an English word. Hebrew and Malayalam are same meaning. In Hebrew, GOLEM, golem means scarecrow. മലയാളത്തിൽ അതന്നെ അതാ പിന്നെ ഞാനെന്ത് പറഞ്ഞു ഇല്ല മോളെ. So this is a beautiful book which says The Golem. That means science as we are taught in school and college is something that has been created by the Wall Street greed to keep us under their control. See, today, for example, you say, oh, Western medicine is scientific. Oh, it's scientific? Yeah, I'll take it. What is science? Tell me what is science? The vice president of the Dental Association. Keep you under control. You think, oh, it is scientific, then it must be good. They say, evidence-based science. Western medicine is evidence-based science. Where is the evidence? That you don't ask. You say evidence-based science. Oh, this Ayurveda? No, it's not good. No, not science. Who said it's not science? Actually, Ayurveda is a bigger science than the Western science. And the Western medical science is totally wrong, totally flawed. And this became a science. If you want to know the history, you'll be shocked. How did medicine become a science? The Western medicine started as mumbo jumbo, sorcery and witchcraft on the Nile Valley 5,000 years ago. From there it moved. From Nile Valley it came to Egypt. And in Egypt, then other parts of Egypt had a lot of time. Then it came to Arabia, actually. And in Arabia, there was a great man called Ibn Sina, whom the Westerners call as Avicenna. He's not Avicenna, he's Ibn Sina, I-B-N, S-I-E-N. Ibn Sina did a lot of modifications for the Western medicine. And from here it went to Greece. And by the time it reached Greece, Alexander the Great had invaded India and come back. He died in Persia. But Alexander's followers came back to Alexandria, a city which he had built for intellectual activity. And the big building he had built called Academia. So we say, I'm in academics. You ask the people, what is academics? They won't know. This academics means reading books and going to the library is called academic. No. Academia is the building where academics started. Where people come and have two kinds of things. A, symposium. They come and talk like this, agree to disagree, eat and dine and wine and go. Or seminar. Seminar comes from semen. So seminar is a discussion where new thoughts come out. Now, so new things born. Today we interchangeably use it in any way you like. But the original thing is symposium is totally different from seminar. Seminar is different from symposium. That is why academics, anybody who goes there is supposed to be an academic. Not because you go to the library and have a PhD. You know what PhD is? Huh? PhD? Doctor of Philosophy. Huh? Good. Yes. No. If you steal from one person, it's called plagiarism. When you steal from 100 people, it's called PhD. Did you get that? Yeah, that's the difference between the two. Plagiarism also, high level people do plagiarism, doesn't matter. But today in India, the situation is a little different. I don't know how many of you know. The UGC said even to become an assistant professor, you must have a PhD. So we have PhDs galore now. Very interesting. Every other person is a PhD. And it's very easy to get PhD because, even in America you can get PhD. If there are the institutions where you give $5,000, you'll get a PhD thesis written and you get a PhD. In India, it is still cheaper. You don't have to go that far. You get very cheap. There are people who write PhD thesis. You have to give them the subject. There are examiners who give you a pass. There are universities which connive with that. Can you believe that? All this happens because the greed at the end. It's again economics greed. If you get a PhD, you get a promotion. If you get a PhD, you get a higher pay. If you get a PhD, you're better. So it's better than the others. It's one-upmanship. So this is how the world runs. Remember that? Now come back to Douglas Black's work. What did Douglas Wallace show? Any drug that you give, which is a reductionist chemical, destroys the body, destroys the liver, and damages the liver. And if any good effect comes, it is from what little comes out of the liver. And the leading cause of death today in the West is adverse drug reactions. And the doctor's establishment is the leading cause of death. Did you know that? The medical establishment is the leading cause of death. In 5 countries in the last 25 years, doctors went on strike where there are no private doctors. Saskatchewan in Canada 25 years ago, Los Angeles County 15 years ago, Bogota in Colombia 10 years ago, and recently in Israel. Doctors went on strike. An audit now shows each time the doctors went on strike, death rate simply disappeared, almost came down. Morbidity came down. Can you believe that? Nurses were running the hospital. Recently in Dublin, there is a very interesting thing. The junior doctors went on strike. The senior consultants were still holding fort. But the senior consultant has forgotten how to give intravenous drips and the simple things, the procedures, how to incise an abscess, etc., etc. So much so, interventions came down, and mortality came down, and morbidity came down. British Medical Journal wrote a beautiful editorial. Doctors going on strike will improve society's health for sure. Did you get that? Now comes the very famous 14-country study of the industrialist countries and this study is published. You want the reference? Write down. Is US medicine the best in the world? That's the heading. Nama Doctors Forum, our ophthalmologist is writing. Is US medicine the best in the world? Write down. That's the heading. The author's name is Barbara Starfield, who teaches community medicine in Johns Hopkins Hospital. She's a very nice girl. And they wanted to kill her. Eventually, she died of an accident. I don't know whether she is killed or not. And this article came in the JAMA, J-A-M-A. More idea? 2000. Year is 2000. Semicolon. Volume is 284. Colon. Page is 483. Vaikanam. This is a free article. You go to Google and say Barbara Starfield, is US medicine the best in the world? JAMA 2000, semicolon 284, colon 483. And you will see for your shock that the leading cause of death is the medical establishment. Why? Over-intervention, over-diagnosis, mismanagement, over-management, under-management. A study showed that people who don't have high blood pressure, genuine disease, just their pressure is slightly raised when they see a doctor, which is called white coat hypertension. These people are unnecessarily drugged and the drugs produce problems. People of genuine high blood pressure with a lot of problems, they are not adequately treated and they die. So they have either over-treatment or under-treatment. Seeing this, Mary Tinetti, who is the professor of medicine in Yale, wrote a nice study in the Archives of Internal Medicine. Archives of Internal Medicine. That heading is, write down the heading. Mary Tinetti. Mary, M-A-R-Y, T-I-N-N-E-T-T-I. Mary Tinetti. The end of the disease era. That's the heading of the article. What's the heading of the article? The end of the disease era. That means this diagnosis is the curse. Diagnosis is a disease in itself. You make a diagnosis and attack it. You know what happens to the human being, you are not worried. You are only worried attacking the diagnosis. Archives of Internal Medicine. Arch Int Med, 2004. Volume 116. Page 179. Now read this, and Mary tells you that all that we do today is either over-treatment, under-treatment, mistreatment or maltreatment, but not real treatment. Anyway, why did I say all this this preface? Just to tell you that you are here because of you and not because of doctors. You are here if you are alive, in spite of doctors, you are terribly lucky. Did you get that message? Just telling you the truth. That is, you are cured by your own immune system. This is the most important thing. And our job should be to boost our immune system. That's the essence of Ayurveda. Swastasya swastha rakshitam. Preserve the health of the well. How do you do that? Boost the immune system. Panchakarma, for example. Ayurveda's thrust is Panchakarma. There are 5 methods of boosting your immune system. But I tell you, better than that, there is only one system. Love everybody. Love everybody. Hate nobody. Don't do anything in overdose. Do what you love and love what you do. Have a wife or husband of your choice if you can. But if you can't, love the husband or the wife that you get. ശരിയല്ല മോളെ? All wives are happy. All wives are happy. But the truth, there's a beautiful book called Stress and Distress, written by one of the Pandits of stress research called, what is his name? O'Malley. No, his name is something else. Anyway, I'll come back to that. And he writes there beautifully, if you love what you do, and if you love your surroundings, all the associates, you love your boss, you love your assistant, you love your wife, you love your husband, you have no problem at all in life. Our problem is we don't love people. We hate people, H-A-T-E, and that's the most dangerous thing to happen. When you hate somebody, your problems start. That is why in Ayurveda, there are 5 levels of the mind. The mind is one word in English language, but in Sanskrit there are 5 levels. Manas is the mind of a child. So beautiful. Have you seen a child, newborn child, recently? No. If you are not, go to the maternity ward and see the newborn child. There are 2 kinds of children. One child comes out and very curious. Another child, the first one is coming here for the first time, so it's curious to know what's happening. The second one has come here several times. It couldn't care less what is happening. It has seen it all. But they smile at everyone the minute they start spotting people. Maybe a few months. Smile at anybody. B.M. Hegde comes, it smiles. Jiten comes, it smiles. And whoever comes, it smiles. But do you do that? No, you don't do that. You smile at certain people and you don't want to see someone else's face. That is where the problem starts. I've been following this, what's called HRV. We were doing studies for about 40 years now. Heart rate variability. A child's heart is very interesting. When the child breathes, the heart runs fast. When the child breathes out, it runs slow. Which we, foolish Western physiologists, call it as sinus arrhythmia. That is the real rhythmia. Arrhythmia is health and rhythmia is death. Now, as you grow old and start hating people, then your heart becomes regular and regular and regular and regular. HRV decreases. And the day it totally stops and you're absolutely regular, you're dead. Don't laugh, I'm seriously telling you. I wish I had my slides to show you how this happens. These people who become absolutely regular are dead within about a couple of hours. But you can bring them from that state to the child state by doing pranayama. So beautifully. And pranayama is so good that you can bring them back to what's called tranquility. And that's where you can treat or use preventive measures. Yoga has that capacity to do that. That's why, thanks to our Prime Minister, yoga has now been recognized all over the world. A movement which he moved in the UNO, record 172 countries okayed it to have 21st of June as the International Yoga Day. 172 countries. And today you must see, I was in Lisbon last year. They invited me. There's a fascinating place in Lisbon. And there's a man who is Portuguese, but calls himself Swami Surya Prakash Ananda or somebody, and has the ochre robe. And he has got a big band of people doing yoga. And I was there for the 21st, and then we went up to the days, and one old lady comes. Oh, how old is she? 98. And she says, I've been doing yoga for the last 40 years. And she comes, it's a very high days, and some of us had to be helped. She just jumps up and comes. I always tell, you can say a man is healthy or not by knowing what he takes 2 at a time. Did you get that? Stairs and pills. If he takes 2 stairs at a time, he will live another 50 years. If he takes 2 pills at a time, I don't know how long he will live. This girl was taking 2 steps, jumping, 2 stairs. And then she comes and we stand there and we all say, Om. This girl says, Om. By the time we all finished, this girl was still saying, Om. 98. Can you believe that? Such a long vital capacity. So much of vital capacity. Maximum breathing capacity. And her joints were so good because she was using them. That's why now for the Canadian Gerontology Association, I've told them, you teach your people 2 things. A, Indian dance forms, Bharatanatyam. If you are a Bharatanatyam exponent, your joints will be supple even when you're 100. And if you're one of those chanting the Om, your maximum breathing capacity will remain the same for any number of years you live. The 2 things that happen as age advances, A, joint mobility comes down, B, the vital capacity comes down. And you must see these people. And that's how the sinus arrhythmia of a child comes back to the adult also when once you become a child. When do you become a child? When you have no hang-ups. Child has no hang-up. I shouldn't talk to these people. No, I should, this is a meeting, I should like this and I should. Why all those restrictions? You want to yawn? Yawn to your heart's content. Child yawns, no? You must see the sophisticated westernized lady. Why that? You want to, burp? Burp. It's normal. You want to fart? Fart loudly. What is there? Haven't you seen Auden's poem on farting? He says, you must know how to fart. Very nice. Auden, very big English poem. He says, his poem is that no man can smell his fart. You can smell everyone else's fart, not yours. Some realize a child doesn't restrict it. Supposing it wants to fart, just a child doesn't say, I'll hold it on. Each time you hold it on, your blood pressure goes up. You're holding it on, breathing against closed glottis, which is Valsalva maneuver. You're almost killing yourself. Remember that. Fart, man. What is there? No, I'm just not joking. Seriously telling you. Become a child. Become a child in every aspect of it. That means your heart rate variability will come back to child sinus arrhythmia. And when once that happens, that's why that is a manas. Now the child is sent to school. Right? There, child is given some information. Time I am on. Jan is restrict time. Time limit restricts, Yesterday I was worried because, there's the time is there, so much of programs to go on, and the children were waiting for dancing, etc. So I didn't want to. Restrict. And the blood pressure went up. Innella free for all. So what happens? You just send the child to school. School is said, this is BMI day, this is so and so, that is so and so, this is so and so, etc., etc. And that level of the mind is called buddhi. You know what buddhi is? What you are told. You are told. You are told you should not fart in public. That's buddhi. But child doesn't have buddhi, it's a manas. It farts. So buddhi. That's why I say every newborn child is a genius, wrote Alexis Carrel, only to be converted to an idiot in school. So you become an idiot. So when the minute you become an idiot, then you become buddhi. Then after buddhi is the next level, where buddhi creates chitta. Chitta is buddhi plus ego. I am B.M. Hegde. I am A, B, C, D, E, F, G or some whatever it is. That is called chitta. And that's the level you get lot of problems in the mind. Chitta, vritti, undulations. Nirodha yogaha, Patanjali wrote. At the chitta level, you have so much of agitation in the mind. If you can control it, put a nirod there, not the government one, it leaks. But the real one. You become a sannyasi, you become so tranquil. So that's exactly what is called yoga. Chitta, vritti, nirodha, yoga. Yoga is not kusti. All that kusti you do, asanas, they are not yoga. Real yoga is chitta, vritti, nirodha, yoga. And yoga is not joining the Atman with Paramatman, etc., etc. Actually, Patanjali was an atheist. He never believed in God. But chitta is chitta, vritti, nirodha, yoga. So no religion can have any objection for yoga because it's not anything to do with religion. It's just the mind. That's all. And that's very interesting to know that. And last is, what is asana for? Asana is also important. Because each time you stretch your muscles, the tendons release opioids. You relax. That's why called sthiram sukham asanam. For constant ease, you must do asana. So you do asana first and then sit and do pranayama. You become chitta, vritti, nirodha, yoga. So you become a child at the end of the day and you love the whole world. And you love your enemy. That's what Jesus said. Love the enemy. You even love your enemy because you forget why you, in the first place, you become and forgiveness comes. And forgiveness is the biggest thing. Ayurveda says, Kshamavan, forgive. Aptopasevi bhaveta arogyam. Now, I was so happy this morning here because they said Kannada, the Indian associations have come together. Coming together is progress. Staying together is probably what you need. And we must stay together because you are now in a far-off country. Not, of course, physically not very far off from India. But you are in a foreign country. This is your karma bhumi. Love the Kuwaitians. You have to love the Kuwaitians because it is they who have given you a place to work here and thrive. So you love them. Your health improves. Then you love yourselves. You know, now the latest Western studies have shown that the old Indian large family systems are very healthy. The sense of belonging. You know, I still remember the days when I was a child in my father's house. We were 66 children in the house. 66 children. And it's fun. Supposing morning there is idli, let us say, for breakfast. Most of the time it is ganji, but if you say idli, one idli is cut into 4 pieces. So you are given 3 pieces. That means 3 idlis you are given. That is 3/4 of the idli you have at the end of the day. And chutney is like that. You just touch it and check, and it goes that far. But it was fun. We used to pick one from the other plate and say run and eat and things like that. At night we had to drink milk. I still remember that. It's called pear neer. Pear neer means water in milk. At the end of the day, it was only water. There's no milk in it. So it gets diluted, and you get small quantities. So that is how life was, but with a very real fun. Today, father, mother, husband, and child. Father goes out for work, tension, whether he will come back or not. Mother goes out, tension. Child goes out, you don't know, will somebody kidnap the child. So all 3 of you, the blood pressure keeps going up. So the tension. So they say, the sense of belonging. You know, uncles, aunties, grannies, and so many people to look after. Today you have to have a nanny. And the nanny is not interested in the child, but the granny is interested in the grandchild. So nanny will look after the child much better than the nanny. And that's the enjoyment of it. So sense of belonging. So do you know what the West does now? They always do something. They call church groups. Not that they go to church. Nobody goes to church in the West now. They call church groups a group where they behave like a family. So my suggestion is, KKK is a bad name. Huh? Ku Klux Klan. KKK, IADK, huh? IDAK, IDF. Treat yourselves as one family, one family. Don't have that. Come together, enjoy together. At least once in 3 months, have a combined meeting where you discuss topics of common interest. Or so you call some ass like B.M. Egde and ask him to talk some nonsense. All that is good because, you just want to while away your time, forget your past, forget your worries. Worries and things like that keep killing you. So you forget it, you treat yourself. So my suggestion would be, you be a good one organization and love your karma bhumi and do something for your janma bhumi also. Do something. At least remove the myths about India that the West and the other countries have. It's all not true. You would be surprised. India had the hoariest science in the past. Very great. Now talking about it is no good. But we shouldn't talk. Let's see what the Western thinkers say. Voltaire said, I quote, Voltaire is a great French thinker. He said, when we were hunter-gatherers roaming the forest, these Indians had universities of excellence in 5 places, where wise people from all over the world flocked to get more wisdom. What a beautiful saying. Ilyabas, Bandhaband, Takshila, Banaras, and Nalanda. What a beautiful thing. You go to Gaya and see the Nalanda. Still the structure is there. And the structure is so beautiful. They want to revive that. And you must see the gown, the Nalanda University convocation gown, which is so good compared to the Ku Klux Klan gown that we use from the ecumenical 12th century European universities that we have. It looks like a burqa actually. All this we have forgotten. Now, in quantum physics, a man gets the Nobel Prize and an alternate Nobel Prize for finding out that energy and matter are identical. Matter is energy and energy is matter. He calls it as E is equal to M. And he calls it as a duality. That means no duality. But the man writes an article for you. Read this. Matter is not made out of matter. Article the pair in there. Matter is not made out of matter. His name is Hans, H-A-N-S, Peter, P-E-T-E-R, Durr, D-U-R-R. Now, taking medicines in the chronic for allergy, chronic base is very dangerous because most of these anti-allergy drugs, which are called anti-allergy drugs, are very bad H1 blockers. And they invariably increase the QT interval in the heart. And one of the quick methods of killing yourself very fast is being on anti-allergic drugs continuously. Some of the recent anti-allergic like Cinnarizine are H1 blockers plus A1 blockers, so that your blood pressure goes down sometimes. So be careful when you do these things. And second thing is, no doctor tells you, or many doctors forget to tell a man, anti-allergy drug people should not drive a vehicle. But they suddenly, their level of thinking will go down and the judgment goes down and accidents are very common. It is estimated that 50% of the road accidents are due to people taking anti-allergic drugs without their knowing that. And one of the methods of anti-allergy thing is how to change the mind. Quantum healing. Meditate and get it out. And the nose allergy, the seat of the allergy is in the submucosal layer. Now there are lasers which can remove that layer and sensitize that layer, desensitize layer, and you're all right in no time.
I believe that most of our diseases, such as cancer and stuff, is caused by some kind of stress, emotional, mental. But that doesn't help explain why 4-year-olds get blood cancer and things like that. How do children
What a beautiful question. This girl is very good. I like that girl. Amma, have you got into a 4-year-old child's mind?
I've tried to a lot.
Yeah, you have not been. You will see a 2-year-old child. When you get the next child coming out, it hates that child so much that it wishes the child can be killed. They have tried to kill that. They are also in the same world, ma. They have also got emotions, which you and I don't understand. They are also same zygote as you and I are. And they also can think. So you don't know what happens. You know, a lot of people ask, why did Ramana Maharshi die at a young age? Why did Shankara die at an young age? How do you know they had a tranquil mind? They were good people. You know, for example, you think I am a good man. I may be a rascal inside. You don't know. You don't know, really. So a child also has emotions. So a 4-year-old child can have cancer, nothing wrong in it. You will be surprised to know that a child learns in your own womb. Did you know that?
Yes.
And if you and your husband fight when you are having the child inside, that child becomes a fighter when it comes out. It can learn for 9 years, for 5 years in the house, surroundings.
Kurukshetra.
Kurukshetra. See how that Chakravyuha coming out and going in, etc. Today people are teaching mathematics to children in the womb. Yeah, you can do that. You just try this experiment. When you become next pregnant, or somebody friend becomes pregnant, after some time you name the child. You name the child something and call the child every day. And after a few months, you just simply call the child, it moves in the tummy.
Professor, I've tried that. I have a 12-year-old son who loves mathematics. And I remember when my friends used to ask me when I was pregnant if I have any kind of urges to eat. We have specific urges to eat. And I had none. But I used to want to solve integral calculus, enjoyed doing that. And my son loves mathematics.
Good girl. Good girl. Indians are good at calculus after Ramanujan, You will be surprised. A professor of cardiovascular surgery in Stanford, such a big man. His name was David Eddy, D-A-V-I-D-E-D-D-D-Y. Eddy, at the age of 52, when he was about to become the head of the department of cardiac surgery because his boss, Norman Shumway, was retiring, he said, why am I doing bypass surgery? It's unscientific. There's no scientific basis. I'm using linear mathematics or non-linear organ. He resigned his job. Can you believe that? 52, Stanford, professor of cardiovascular surgery, resigning his job. And he joins Stanford University for PhD in mathematics. 3 years later, he gets the PhD in mathematics with the Henley Gold Medal, and the citation says, David was the best brain in calculus that Stanford had in 350 years. And David goes on to change the physiology of man, and he has got a new physiology now called www.archimedesmodel.com. Go to the library, put it there. And then put your problems there, you get a solution there. And you will find whatever drug you give there, it says it's horrible, don't take that drug. And David is now professor of medical management in Stanford University. He doesn't do bypass surgery. So good?
Thank you.